Okay, in this video, we are going to cover Unit 2, Activity 4. And in this activity, the focus will be on research, and you'll learn how to find good research sources, and you'll learn how to properly cite research sources in your assignments, which is extremely important if you move on to grade 12 English or if you move on to college or university. You've got to be able to use research appropriately, or you unfortunately can get accused of cheating or plagiarism. So, in this activity, once you've learned about research, you're going to write an information paragraph and you're going to include research in that paragraph to show me that you know how to properly use research. Couple of things I will say before we jump into Unit 2, Activity 4. Number one, this Friday is a PA day, so St. Michael's will be closed. You can certainly still log on to the course website, but I will not be available on Friday. Also, you'll notice above Unit 2, Activity 4, I posted a second announcement today from the guidance department at St. Michael's, and they are asking that all hybrid students complete the maturity credit questionnaire. And if you click right here, it'll open a Google form and you can fill it out. If you have already filled this form out in semester one, then you don't need to fill it out again. But if you haven't filled this form out this year, it's really important that you do. As you'll note down here, if you don't fill out the form, then you might be ineligible for graduation or for returning to class in September. So they really need your information. They need this form filled out. Also, they're asking you to get in touch with your guidance counselor to discuss graduation, your diploma, potentially going to summer school, or coming back in September. And I think most of you already know who your guidance counselor is, but if you don't, it goes by your last name. So if your last name starts with an A, B, or C, your guidance counselor is Ms. Carolina. If your last name starts with D through L, your guidance counselor is Ms. Laura. And if your last name starts with M to Z, your last name is Ms. Nicole. And so again, you can click right here to go to their email address and to send them an email if you have any questions or any concerns about your graduation, your diploma, summer school, etc. All right, with that said, we are going to jump into Unit 2, Activity 4. Okay, so in this activity, as I said, it's going to focus on research, and it's going to ask you to be able to write what they're going to call an information paragraph by the end. So you're going to have to write a paragraph containing information that you have gathered through research. And so as we go through, it'll start by talking a little bit about an information paragraph, and it will get into places where you can go to find good information. And one place you can go that usually is going to have quality information is an encyclopedia. So they give you an example of the Canadian Encyclopedia or the Catholic Encyclopedia. So you could go to either one of those for an example of good research and an example of a source that would be considered a good research source. So this is just to get you thinking, to get you started with research. Now that said, they're going to get into how do you begin research and how do you find sources and then properly use them in your assignments. So you're going to have a little video here that's going to give you an idea about the beginnings of research and how to get started. As it goes on, you're going to take a look at how to find credible sources. So how to find sources, particularly websites that are considered good research sources. You don't want to use a website that is not considered credible or is not considered trustworthy. In general, we don't want to use social media sites like Facebook or TikTok or Instagram. We don't want to use the comments below articles that are not cited or anything. They're just random people who we don't know posting. We want to use professional proper sources. So they'll give you an explanation of what they mean by credible and what they mean by independent sources. And hopefully they'll get you thinking about how to determine whether a website would make a good or a bad research source. As you continue, it'll talk about how to properly find sources and how to hopefully avoid plagiarism. And it'll talk about how to properly cite your sources, because once you've found good research sources, you have to properly incorporate that information into your assignments. And so that means properly citing your sources. And so it'll help you, they'll go over how to keep track of your sources, and it'll talk about how you're going to have to be able to find the author, the name of the web page, the name of the website. So there's a difference between web page and website. You'll have to be able to find a publisher. You'll have to be able to find the date that you found, the date that the website was created or updated. And you'll have to be able to jot down the date that you visited the website. So you're going to have 2 dates. And then lastly, the URL or the web address, the www dot, you'll have to have that. So all of this information is needed to properly cite a research source. So it's not like, it's a lot more detail usually than if you're using a book or a video as, a movie as a research source. As we continue down here, they'll talk about how to track multiple sources, and they're going to give you some examples here of sources. And you'll see they have the author, the name of the web page, the website, the publisher, the date it was created or the date that it was updated, the date that the person visited the website, and then you've got the URL, and then you've got the information, the quotes and details that they want to use from that website. Okay. So again, research is a step-by-step process. It's not done all in one take. You have to find the research. You have to take the quotes or use paraphrases that you would like from the source, and then you have to write out your actual references. And so it's not a one-stop, sort of one-step process. The research process is multiple. As we continue, they'll talk about how to sort information, particularly research information, into a paragraph structure. And they'll eventually give you an example here as we go down of an information paragraph. If I go down here, we'll see an information paragraph on a Canadian great, on a woman named Angela James. Okay. And so if you've gone through the whole activity, you'll see how they built this paragraph from initially looking up research and then eventually putting it together into a proper paragraph. And you'll notice that there are quotations in here from the research. And so anytime that the author of this paragraph uses words that are not their own, they must put quotation marks and citations to show where they got the information. And then they'll talk about using proper MLA, they call them MLA citations. And so they'll talk about how to write out a website that does not have an author and how to write out a website that does have an author. And then you'll see examples of a works cited page of a listing of citations here for this paragraph right here. So all the sources that were used, Stewart and Marshall, the Hockey Hall of Fame, So all of the sources that are used inside the paragraph need to be properly cited and written out at the end, after your paragraph, in a works cited page where you write the author's name, where you write the article title or the web page title, the website title, the publisher, the date that it was updated, the www dot, and the date that you visited the website. So you need all of this information for your sources. So after going through all of that, you're going to be challenged to come up with your own research and your own information paragraph. And so you're going to write an information paragraph and properly cite it about a different Canadian individual. And I've given you, or the website has given you, a number of choices here. So you can choose one of these Canadians. So most of these Canadians are in sort of the entertainment industry. So you've got a tennis player, you've got writers, actors, musicians, a race car driver. So you can choose any of these that you like. So just pick one. Or if you like, you can choose your own Canadian. You can choose a different Canadian. But I would suggest that you let me know if you're going to choose somebody other than the ones listed here. Okay. And then what you're going to do is you're going to click on 2.4 assessment information paragraph. And when you go inside the Dropbox, they'll have a template that you can open. And you'll have to make your own copy. But you'll see right here is the Google Doc that you can fill out for your information paragraph. So it will remind you of the topics of the Canadian individuals that you can choose. You can write down some brainstorming ideas that you would like to look up about that person, or you'd like to write about that person. You can do your research and you can track your research, so you can find websites about that person and write down the author of the website, the web page title, the website title, the publisher, the date that it was created or updated, the date that you visited, and the URL, the www dot. So you're going to need all of this information for your works cited page. Okay. Then you're going to write your important information that you will use from the web page. So you will take down quotes or different facts that you would like to use from the web page. And then ultimately, you're going to, once you have your ideas and questions and information and everything ready, you're going to write your information paragraph here on that particular Canadian. And then finally, you're going to go through a checklist here, and you're going to make sure that you have included a title, make sure that you have used the proper paragraph structure, and so that you have a topic sentence or an introductory sentence, that you have supporting points in the body sentences, that you have a concluding sentence. You're going to check your spelling and grammar. You're going to check for strong word usage. You're going to check that your writing is mostly your own words, and when it's not, you must use quotations and citations. If you're using somebody else's words and you're not putting quotation marks and you're not putting citations afterwards, then it's plagiarism. So the goal here is to show that you can use mostly your own words and then just include a few quotations from your research sources to back yourself up. And then make sure that you have a proper parenthetical citations, so that you're properly citing your sources and that you have a proper works cited page at the end. So again, you're just trying to follow the same path that the Unit 2 Activity 4 content page goes through here. You're going to try to find research. You're going to try to make sure that it's credible and proper research. You're going to try to cite that research properly. You're going to try to, you're going to keep track of your research sources. Okay, so you're going to keep track of the author, the web page title, the website title, the publisher, etc. And then ultimately, you're going to show that you can sort and organize this information and use primarily your own words to write a proper information paragraph. And so ultimately, your goal is to kind of try to mimic what you've learned in this activity. If you do have any questions, if you run into any trouble, please let me know. If you'd like to tell me who your topic is going to be, which Canadian you've chosen to research and write about, please let me know.